anything that's going to crack down on drugs, but I'm not sure this goes anywhere near far enough. And you talked about people like Ian Duncan Smith, who I really like and respect, but wanting to legalise drugs. I think this is crazy. I don't get it when drug deaths are up in England, Scotland and Wales. People say, hey, let's legalise them. Let's make them more widely available to lots of vulnerable people and more vulnerable kids. Drugs are illegal because they're dangerous. If anyone could convince me that...
I'll stop you there, you psycho bitch. Just because something's illegal doesn't mean it's dangerous or bad. If we made illegal everything that was bad for us, alcohol would be illegal. Sugar would be illegal. Those things are not illegal. Why? Even though alcohol is definitely more addictive, has greater side effects both short-term and long-term, and leads to more illnesses than, say, cannabis. Wouldn't it make sense for that to be illegal then, if cannabis is illegal? The answer is yes, it would be, but it's not. Cannabis is illegal, whereas alcohol is legal. Can you explain why that is? If you are going to turn around and say, well, alcohol's not as bad as cannabis, then you're either ignorant or a fucking liar. That's the long and short of it. And this is the problem, this whole stigma around drugs and this sort of primary school understanding of what drugs are and what the law is as well, is the reason why we're in this mess and the reason why the war on drugs has absolutely failed over the years. And you still have clowns like this who are still waving that flag, still fighting that battle. It's dumb.
Cocaine, ecstasy, cannabis are safe for that. Great, legalise them. But we can't. And what this plan today...
Why can't
Boris is spending a lot of money. There were 3,000 drug deaths last year. That's twice as many as in car crashes and in... What was the other thing? I forgot the other thing. Car crashes and in stabbing. So twice as many drug deaths. And yet he's going to be...
Right, so what drugs, first of all? So maybe if we want to take your claim seriously, let's highlight which drugs first of all, because I assume you mean not prescription drugs, say. I'm sure overdose from prescription drugs. I'm sure you're not counting them in the figures. And if you are, I'm sure quite a lot of those 3,000 deaths you just mentioned are made up of them. Do you want them to be illegal? And then if it's heroin, for example, if it's heroin, ecstasy, if it's deaths from those, cool. Maybe we can actually have a serious conversation about the benefits of them being legal or not. However, any drugs that has maybe 0 deaths in that, would that not defeat your claim and mean that they actually can be legal? Because you'll not find a single death because of cannabis. And if you're one of these arseholes that say, well, a car crash because of cannabis, or maybe if 2 people are high and they get into a fight, or even one person's high and gets in a fight and that results in a death, that's a death to cannabis, then I have some bad news about alcohol. Sorry.
Spending money on trying to put 300,000 drug users into kind of rehab and recovery. And that seems to be... Yes, we should help people recover from drugs, but we also have to punish drugs use. And what we're seeing now with Boris...
What she just said there made no sense. I'll translate what she just said for you. Yeah, we have to help people who are addicted to drugs, but also we shouldn't help people who are addicted to drugs. That's literally what she just said. Crime's not about punishment. Crime's not about revenge. Justice is not about revenge, I should say. Justice is, and the whole prison system is about rehabilitation, or at least it should be. We've since lost that idea because all these angry conservatives like this idea of using crime and punishment as a big stick to keep people in check with. You are a dissident, you are someone we don't like, so we're going to make you change your behaviour, even though it does no one any harm. But we've criminalised your behaviour to make sure you're a good little boy. And you do as we say. And you stay in poverty as well, please. Because we don't want you causing any trouble. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Nonsensical.
is one, kind of criminal intervention, but the government is spending twice as much on treatment and recovery than they are on criminal interventions, which seems the wrong way around to me. People want to see doors being bashed down. They want to see drug peddlers and drug takers being punished.
No, they don't. I don't think that's true at all. Outside of your conservative middle-class bubble full of white people, that's not the case. It really isn't, because most people see drugs for what they are, which is mostly, I think for a lot of people, a coping mechanism. This is a way we can sort of forget our troubles and just sort of move on and relieve our stress. And the reality as well is drug use and stuff like that is a symptom of current policy. It's a symptom of poverty. Fix those if you want to fix drugs.
Where is the deterrent for drug users if they know that if they become addicted, the government is going to pay for their recovery? They have to know there are consequences to taking drugs.
This is deterrents don't work like that. We have pushed that same thing. So has America for fucking decades. And weirdly enough, our drug problem doesn't seem to get any better. It never seems to lessen itself. That should tell you that that system's not working. Places like Portugal have done something different. Portugal can now brag a much better drug environment than we can. They have less arrests. They have more rehabilitation, less addiction, less drug-related death, less drug-related crime, all because they've changed how they thought of drug laws. They've gone from treating drugs as a criminal issue and now treat it more like a medical issue. So, for example, in Portugal, they opened injection houses, I think they're called. If not, I've trademarked that. That's mine now. Injection houses, safe injection houses, where if you're addicted to heroin, you can go there. You are provided with clean needles and a safe environment where you can lock yourself in and basically have a bed where you can take your heroin in a safe environment. What this resulted in is less health problems from it because you're using clean needles, less crime, because you are in a safe environment. Once again, you can't go and act out. And if you do, also there's no overdoses because there's people there to make sure that you're taking the right dosage. But if you do run into a problem, a medical issue, they literally have people on hand to make sure you don't die. This kind of safe environment was also a great place to let people know there's support here. So I know you come here to use the injection house, but if you want to quit, we've got this medical professional here. We can talk to you about how to get off this stuff. Weirdly enough, when you start treating it this way, more people take you up on that option. And you actually fix the drug use in your own country. Mental, that, isn't it? But once again, Conservatives can't look at success like that. And they might respond with, oh, well, we're not Portugal. Like, that's ever a good thing. Like, that's never a good argument. Like Americans, well, literally all these countries around the world have universal healthcare in some form. Why don't you? Well, we're not every other country. America's different. Not really a good argument, is it? How? Why is our drug use so vastly different from Portugal and a lot of mainland Europe that we can't use the exact same attitude to fix the same problem we all had at one point? There's a reason why us in America in particular still have these major issues with drug use, and it's because we haven't dealt with them properly, and we keep going to this idea that we need to punish it when it's never worked. But the thing is, people like this bint don't care if it works. They don't want people to be rehabilitated. They don't want less drug use. They want the continued oppression and punishment of people who use drugs, because that keeps them down. That keeps them in poverty. That keeps them out of influencing anything beyond their station. That's what they actually want. As long as that's in place as a mechanism for control, they are happy.
Well, I completely agree, Carol. And actually, this is about these middle-class folk, isn't it, who go to nightclubs or go...
middle class folk. Like, I can't see a single middle class person on screen at the moment, can I? Fucking hell.
They're posh dinner parties in Islington and love to snort loads of cocaine. Clearly, they're doing it all around Westminster too, and they think it's fine. They don't think about the consequences of the young children who are getting into this drug trade. And I'm actually sick of...
How are young children getting drugs, exactly? Last time I checked, most drug dealers didn't accept like dairy dunkers as payment for drugs. Just FYI. How are these young children getting hold of them exactly? Oh wait, I know, the boogeyman. I know these conservatives think drug dealers are just going to schools and just chucking drugs through the fence and stuff, aren't they? Yeah, mate, that's what happens. Yeah, because all these evil drug dealers are there with their big hoods. They've got black hoods up and they're going, hey, gotta get some children addicted to drugs today. Yeah, that's what happens, mate. Yeah. Who's paying for them in that case? This fucking boogeyman. It just doesn't happen.
The middle class drug users thinking that what they're doing is okay, not thinking about the victims of it. And I say take their driver's licenses away, take their passports away, because they are breaking the law and they are fueling these drug gangs and the county lines business.
But
at least he's drawn something to attention, which is there's a difference between poverty drug use, which is like usually cannabis or heroin, for example, but then there's posh drug use, like cocaine. And it's weird that he says middle class, because I think like he knows his audience like has a little bit of a kapoo when they hear the word middle class, because most people who watch GB News are working class brainwashed people. But what he's actually talking about there is actually Westminster and the amount of cocaine in Westminster. I mean, look at Michael Gove. If there's anyone who's ever been on cocaine, there's several examples of him definitely being on cocaine. But they're not middle classes, mate. Those are the elite. Those are the the rich, corrupt politicians that have always rigged the game in their favour. And they're very open about that at the moment. They're very open about rigging it in their favour. And it's great you're calling attention to that, but call it what it is. Call it Tory corruption. Yeah? And don't treat this drug rehabilitation, the push for making drugs legal, don't consider that a way for continued use of drugs for the upper classes. It's not. It's lower classes, the people in poverty, the people in cities that would benefit a great deal from the war on drugs changing its direction so that it's not punished as harshly, because that's just a trap for them. Ultimately, that's all it is. It's a way of control. As soon as you legalise these drugs and you regulate them, not only do arrests go down, but also safe use goes up, addiction goes down, tax goes up. It's a win-win situation. There's literally no negatives to it. And once again, if you want to debate me on that, I will ask you first to go look at other countries and how they've done it. Don't come to me saying what I'm saying is wrong if you haven't looked at how successful it is in Portugal and Spain and all these other countries.
Let's do more than that. Let's threaten them with imprisonment. And people say, oh, we can't.
That's literally never worked. We should threaten them with imprisonment. What, like we've done for decades? And we're still debating it. Right, yeah, because that's been so successful. Oh, this fucking idiot.
Put every drug user in prison. We wouldn't have to. Because if they thought for a second that if they were caught with cocaine or with whatever, that they were going to go to jail, they wouldn't take it, trust me. And you know...
Literally not true. How many of the prison population at the moment in Britain are in there because of drug charges? They know there's a risk of going to prison. But guess what? They're kind of in a desperate situation. It hasn't really affected whether or not they're going to do it. Because just like how the death sentence is not a deterrent and has been demonstrated to not be a deterrent and has never, ever reduced murder and other crime that results in death sentence, neither does arrest and so on for drug use. It's literally never impacted any of the drug use or the drug arrests. So you're just peddling all bullshit here. It's almost like this Carol Malone person has just woken up from a 30-year-long coma and hasn't seen what's happened to this war on drugs and doesn't know that's been an absolute failure.
We know that cannabis causes schizophrenia, psychosis. It causes
Old myths. Fucking hell.
car crashes. It causes
It causes car crashes. Fucking hell. Yeah, driving while impaired causes car crashes. Guess what? That's still illegal. Ban alcohol if you're so worried. Ban alcohol. There you go. If you were consistent, you'd push for the banning of alcohol, but you're not consistent on that, are you? Because you don't actually care. You just want something that's currently illegal that you know results in the imprisonment of lots of poor people. You want that to be maintained so you can maintain your own position, say. That's literally all you're doing. You do not want the betterment of people. You want the oppression of people. That's what it comes down to.
respiratory problems. And if you make it legal, you can't turn the clock back on that. That means you can never pull it back. Lots of people say that the drink and cigarettes and tobacco are addictive. Yes, they are. And we can't turn the clock back on that now.
What? So you're saying there's never been a situation where something's been legal and then you've made it illegal? Like, how fucking dumb are you if you genuinely believe that? Just FYI, all the drugs you talked about have previously been legal. Cocaine was not only legal, it was used as a painkiller in medicine, and it was a main ingredient in Coca-Cola. So not only was it legal, it was widely used. So, like, what's your point? Heroin, another painkiller used in medicine, now illegal. Weird that. Right? Asbestos used to be very illegal, very much used in the building industry. Not a drug, of course, not a drug. But we made it illegal afterwards, didn't we, when we realised it caused harm? There's various examples. I don't even need to go into much detail, really, because you all know how fucking stupid what she just said is. There's various examples of things that are legal, then we've made them illegal, like shit tons. And her saying that on TV is fucking embarrassing. Like, this dickhead as well is obviously just going to let her like just go along with it. But like, fucking hell, the fact that he's sitting down watching this train wrecks tells a lot about him.
But we can stop this getting any worse. And you're right, the middle class people think it's funny, and they're the very people who are calling for it to be legalized, not understanding that maybe they can stop anytime they want, but kids on council estates can't.
Stop saying kids. What kids means is like toddlers to like 12 years old. They're not on purpose on drugs. And if they are, then that's obviously something that's been given to them by a guardian or something. So that needs to be looked at. That's illegal regardless. That's child endangerment. That's a completely separate issue. You're talking about adults here, really. 99% of what you're talking about is going to affect adults. So this pearl clutching over, think of the children, it's an old trope, and we can see through it. Like, you're dishonest. You're dishonest, and you're a prick. You're a prick. Comes down to that.
They've been taking drugs since they were age 14.
She just said 14. So not a kid then, teenager. Okay. The Conservative war on drugs is a continuous issue that keeps getting drummed up, and it's the most try-hard of them all. Because, really, we know too much about it now. We know cannabis is not a danger. We know cannabis has no real side effects, has no long-term side effects, not really. It's impossible to overdose on it in the grand scheme of things. Like, you could eat like a whole bag of cannabis and survive it like quite easily. You'd probably have a bad time for a bit, but you'd be very sick. You'd throw it all back up, but you'd survive. But no one ever does that. So practically impossible is what I'm saying, basically. No hangovers, got to point that out as well, which makes it automatically better than alcohol. It also has less crime related to it than alcohol, has less violent crime related to alcohol, it results in less deaths, it results in less dangerous driving, and it results in less illnesses as well. So there's literally no reason why you can't at least legalise cannabis, because it's demonstrably not as harmful as various other things that are legal currently. They've obviously heard this argument before and they can't think of a good way to counter it. So now they're going with what Carol Malone said there, which is, oh, you can't make something that's legal illegal. And I don't know what kind of brainstorming session you did to come up with that little bit of knowledge, but like, we all know that's stupid, right? Of course you can. Like, we do it all the time.